There's a lot of development happening right now in the city of Tulsa, from road projects to the pedestrian bridge near Gathering Place.
The city is also evaluating what to do with more than 50 acres of land in and around the Greenwood District. And this morning we have Mayor G.T. Bynum joining us live on Zoom to talk about everything going on in Tulsa. Mayor, thank you for being here. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
I did. Thank you so much for having me on. It was great to be with family and friends and have a beautiful week here in Tulsa.
Yeah, well, let's get to business. The city recently held 2 community meetings to get feedback on how to develop an area known as Kirkpatrick Heights. What do residents want to see there, and what's the latest on that project?
Yeah, just for folks' reference points so you know what we're talking about, this is the area immediately north of downtown and just west and northwest of OSU Tulsa's campus. And it is old urban renewal land that was cleared years ago and really represents what we think is one of the greatest opportunities for meaningful development here in the city of Tulsa. But we don't want just anything to go in there. We want it to be something that can be really positive and transformative for North Tulsa in particular. And so we want to involve community residents in really thinking through their highest aspirations and dreams of how that land can be used, how it's governed, what the proceeds from that land could go toward in the future. And so that's why we're holding these meetings, to help guide that planning process. We're very fortunate because the citizens of Tulsa own the land, so we can decide what happens with it. But we want it to be something transformative that the community wants to see. And so we're at the early stages of that planning process, and that's where we're having these meetings.
I know the mayor of the city also wrapped up a couple of meetings you all hosted citizens in on. They could hear some research about the way that Tulsa police operate. You all had contracted with the firm, correct, to do some research about Tulsa policing. What were your takeaways from that research, and what are people saying?
Sure. When I came in as mayor, I wanted to shift us towards a community policing model. And so we adopted over 70 different community policing practices in my first year as mayor that we've been putting in place since that time. Well, that was 5 years ago at this point. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to reevaluate what community policing looks like in Tulsa, what's been working well over the last 5 years, where can we do better? And of course, when you're talking about finding ways for citizens to work with police officers to make a community safer, you don't want to just have us talking about that here at City Hall. You want to engage citizens in the community and find out what their thoughts and ideas are. And so we brought in this firm to engage in what's called a community-based participatory research process. And so we're not just having consultants look at our program, we're having consultants work with community members to engage local stakeholders in how what we can do better moving forward and where we've been doing well. And I really want to give credit to Chief Wendell Franklin, who he was doing community policing way before elected officials like me even knew what to call it. That was just his instinct as a rookie police officer, and as he's worked his way up through the chain of command. And it was important to both Chief Franklin and myself that we evaluate our community policing practices right now and involve citizens in how we can build on that moving forward. And so they have not completed their research yet. They will be presenting their recommendations to the chief and to myself soon. But I'm really grateful for the really positive, broad turnout that we've had at these meetings and the stakeholder engagement that we've seen.
One more question, Mayor. The $27 million that are still left over from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, the federal money, it does have an expiration date. What is the city going to do with the $27 million?
So the city of Tulsa, we received a total, or will receive when it's all said and done, of about $87 million. It was important to the city council and I that we prioritize the top priorities first, the things that were absolutely urgent to get done. And so that's why you saw the council adopt just a few weeks ago a $50 million proposal that we had put forward that includes new fire trucks and a new air traffic control tower at the airport, body cameras for police officers, really core things like that. But we still have about $27 million that's unallocated. We didn't want to spend all of it at once. We don't have to. And we want to be deliberate and thoughtful about how we go about doing that. We recognize that, this pandemic, as you all have been reporting with Omicron, I mean, it's not going away next week. And so we wanted to keep some in reserve to be able to evaluate future needs that we might have here in Tulsa. And after the first of the year, the council and I will start another public engagement process around that to identify the highest and best use of those remaining federal funds. And that's before we even get into any of this other infrastructure program or other federal funding that might be out there for us to utilize here in Tulsa.
Mayor Bynum, as always, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you.